Hello, I'm Greg Redcave of Redcave Mods, and welcome to episode 11 of season 2 of my PowerPC series. In this episode, we'll be upgrading my late 2005 PowerMac G5 2 GHz dual core with a 2.5 GHz dual core from a quad core. Now, Apple never made a 2.5 GHz dual core, and these CPUs were specific to the quad core. There were 2 in each of those. Now, this board doesn't support 2 CPUs, it only supports 1. So we'll be taking this 2.5, which I got off of Facebook from a guy named Adma Walker. Thank you, Adma. You did a great thing for me. It was a very good price that I got it for, and he was parting out his dying quad core, and you know, I thought, hey, this would be a great thing. I'd been wanting to do this for a long time, to make the only one, probably one of the only dual core 2.5 air-cooled late 2005 G5s in the whole world. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be taking this CPU here and putting it into here. So we're going to start up by taking off the shrouds and fans and stuff, taking off the heatsink, then converting this to an air-cooled setup, because right now it has a LCS liquid-cooled setup, heatsink for the VRM/chokes, which needs to come off. This should pop right off, I hope. And this is a much smaller cooler than what's on the air-cooled one, and that will all have to be converted. But this CPU should work great in this system, and I'm really excited to install it. So let's get to it. Okay, so whenever you open up a G5, a late 2005 model, there will be a security rivet right here. Now, I've already taken out my graphics card so I can make this panel looser. But there's going to be a plastic security rivet right here. This was for warranty purposes, and if it's still there when you get a quad core, for instance, you're probably having a headache because it's probably already leaked. Guaranteed it. But if it isn't in there, that could mean that the system was repaired properly, hopefully, or it wasn't at all. It's a part system now. But you want to remove this rivet. You basically have to take a pair of pliers and squeeze it and break it and then push it through the hole. Once that is out, you can just pull out the fan here, set that to the side, then this panel should slide sideways and pop up. Like that. It's that simple. Set that to the side, and here's the CPU. Now when this 2.5 will be in the system, it's going to be sitting in here like this. So if you notice, there's something wrong here. Like I said before, this heatsink here is, first off, too small, and second off, it's actually in the wrong location and won't actually mount properly. So to fix all this, well, I'll show you in a minute. But first off, let's take the CPU itself out. Now, to do all this, we'll have to first take these 2 fans out here by pushing down on the tabs. And this is the reason why I removed this card here, because you have to be able to get to these 2 screws right here. These are the ground and power screws for the CPU itself. You have to remove those, and you also have to remove 2 screws here, and 2 screws here, and 2 screws here. All of these are Allen keys, hex keys, which are 3mm, except for the 2 in the heatsink, which is actually a 4mm. Now, that could be a problem if you don't have the right keys, because you need a long key to be able to get down in there and remove them. So keep that in mind. I'm using Amazon special keys here to get these out. So we'll just start removing the screws and take it from there. And you want to make sure that if you drop the screws, you don't drop them into the power supply, because then it's a nightmare to get them back out. See if I can catch this before it falls further. Come on, come over here. Ow. Well, I'll get to that in a second. It's not in a dire situation yet. And that fell off. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Now we need to get the two power screws out. And these buggers have been a pain because they're not super magnetic and they like to fall. I've taken this CPU out once before to replace the thermal paste, so I've had some fun experiences in the past with these two screws. If I'm lucky, I can probably just leave them in the card and lift it out all at once. We'll see. Maybe not, because there it lifted out. And there it fell. Now, great. Yeah, this isn't fun when it comes to these two frickin' screws. Ow! Well, anyway, you get the idea. So, we're not going to worry about those just yet. Put this fan out the way. And now we're going to take the 4mm. And these are captive screws, so they will not fall out. Now the whole unit should just lift right out. Just like that. As I drop it, it's probably not good. It's heavy. I don't think I broke anything. Yeah, it looks fine. Yeah, it's nice for you guys to see my fails every once in a while. But here's the heatsink we'll have to be swapping over. And, well, anyway, here's the setup. Now let's get these three screws that I dropped out and take it from there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this off camera so you don't hear a bunch of cursing if I start cursing. Okay, so I put the side panel on the system so I had a nice little workbench to work with. And what we'll need to do is multiple different things. First off, we'll need to remove this bracket here, and then take all these screws out, that's going to be that's always the fun part with this CPU assembly here. But first, let's take this bracket off. What you do is you grab the sides and just slowly work it up. It will come off like that, and that removes the VRM heatsink from the main heatsink, which allows you to separate the CPU from the main heatsink when you're done. And now we can also compare the size comparison here of these two VRM heatsinks. Big difference. Going to take a little while to get that all taken apart. So now I'm going to figure out where I put my screws. And I'm going to take all these screws out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to start off by taking the Phillips head screws out, which are the ones that have it connected to the heatsink here. So I don't know if I should try to film this or not because I'm probably going to mess up. Actually, it's not too hard. And the nice thing about this giant heatsink is it's very stable. Okay, I got those screws out. Get the heatsink bracket loose here. Okay, now we need to remove these 5 black Allen screws and these 4 screws connecting the CPU die to the heatsink. So first off, I'll do the black ones. These are 2.5 millimeter and should just come right out with this key I have. I'll get it out in a second. I'll do the X pattern for this. 1. And the main light standing for some reason. Okay, so all the screws are out of the system now, out of the assembly anyway, and the card should come loose by itself. Here it comes. And there's that black screw. And there's the CPU. Now I'll clean this up, and then we'll get to converting the heat sinks on these. So let's get going. Okay, so let's do a quick comparison between the 2.0 and the 2.5 in their current state. Now here's the 2.5. And here's the 2.0. Big difference? Not really. In fact, they are basically identical cards. That's one of the many reasons why these should be compatible with each other in this system, because they are identical cards. So, I'll be, first let's pull the heatsink off of this one. It should just, on this one it should be pretty easy. Just put a little pressure on it. It pops right off. That was actually really incredibly easy. I'm getting a bad feeling that the other one's not going to be quite as easy. So here's that heatsink here. Set that to the side. Ow. I just hit the fan over there. Okay, so this one I have a strange feeling it's not going to just come off. But we shall see. Put a little pressure on it. And just pulling the shield off there. Yeah, I think I'm going to set my tripod up here and try to film this, but I don't know if it's going to be successful. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pry this off. I'm not too worried on damaging the 2.0. But it would be nice to have it as a spare. So let's get the 2.5 out of the way before I break it. Set that over there. I'm thinking if I pry on this carefully, it will knock it loose. Oh, wow, that was so easy. Okay. And there we go. Popped right off. And it still had the heat pad on it too. Okay. So now, with these heat sinks off here, we can get a better idea of the size. It's so big I can't get it in the camera frame. 1 second. Lift this up. That is a big difference. And now that is going on to this. But since we now have them apart, I gotta keep in mind the bottom one's the 2.5 because they look so much alike. But since we have them apart, give you a really good idea just how different they are. .5, 2 gigahertz. Really no major difference at all. In fact, it's nearly impossible to tell them apart at all. I don't see any difference on the two. So I'll peel the old heat pad off of here and just apply that one directly to it, since the heat sink's pad's already on there. So yeah, let's get to that. Well, it didn't peel off of there very well. It came off in basically chunks. But yeah, it's off. It's not reusable anymore, but that's no problem because I still have that one. So we'll set all that off to the side, and I'll try to align that and get it onto there. Thinking this through, I decided to try to set the CPU on the main heatsink first and then put the VRM heatsink on. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Okay, so it's got a nice layer of thermal paste on it. Since this is a totally bare die, I always like to do the spread method. You know, that's my preference. You know, if you want to do the dot method, it might be okay, but I like to have a good spread. So we'll take this and try to line it up. Let me try to get up here because I'm going to have to probably stand. Okay. So let's see here. Am I putting this on right? I am not sure. Which way does this go? It goes like this. I'm putting it on backwards. Goes in here. Want to try to line up the heatsink pieces on first. That way you know you're lined up on the heatsink. And there we go. It's that simple. It's on there. Now I've got to try to put this heatsink onto the VRM pad. And there we go. Now I noticed that the screw holes aren't quite lined up quite yet, but I think that's going to be a simple fix. I'll readjust everything a little bit, and then we'll start putting the screws back in. Okay, so I decided not to film putting the screws back in because there really wasn't much of a point. You saw them come out. This is the 2.5 in here. Now we're going to put this back into the case. I don't think I'm going to film that because you watched me take it out. It's the same process going back in, and it's going to make the video a bit shorter and more watchable, in my opinion anyway. But basically, why does a 2.5 gigahertz G5 work in a a G5 that's designed to be two running in one system? Why does it work in a single? Well, it's the same reason why a quad core with a dead CPU would still run as a dual core as long as that CPU is in CPU A. And that's because all G5s and all G4s Apple made were actually designed to be used as a dual processor if you wanted to. And that's That's just the truth. Any G4, any G5, you know, if you have it on the proper card with the proper controller, it will work in a dual configuration. And that's why this works, because this is also backwards compatible as a single configuration. So I'm about to put this all back together. We'll hook it up and we'll see what happens. So let's go. Okay, and here it is installed for the very first time in the G5. I think it will work. Now, as you can see here, all G5, late 2005 G5 boards were the same. The cases were the same, but the single processor models didn't have the extra pins soldered in for the second socket, as we can see here. That's the only difference. This CPU fit in perfectly. It went right in. It's in there, and it should hopefully power on the second I plug it in. So I'll put all the panels back in, put the video card back in, we'll hook it up and do the very first smoke test and see what happens. So let's go. Alright, so here's the finished product, all buttoned up and ready to be plugged in. I just got to put the airflow shroud in and put the side panel on. I'll hook it up and we'll do the first power on together. So let's go. Okay, so everything's hooked up and hopefully this will turn right on and bong. I'm really hoping it will. Like I said, this has never been tested before, though I'm 99% sure it will work. So the only thing that will leave us in suspense for a while after it bongs is the X1900 in it. Takes a while for the monitor to recognize it because of the ADC adapter and stuff. So even if this thing's booting up, it might take a while for the screen to turn on. So let's hope and pray. Let's go. Oh, it bonged. No error lights. Let's see what happens. Keyboard lit up, as we can see here. The mouse lit up. That means that it should be booting. And hopefully we'll see a screen in a second. Hey! It's booting up, guys. Here we go. Okay. So let's go to about this Mac. Here we go. Dual 2.5 gigahertz PowerPC G5, 16 gigs of DDR2 RAM. Okay, that's looking good. Now, we're going to do some more fun stuff here. We're going to do some benchmarks. I've already done the benchmarks for the 2.0, which I'll show you in a second. So let's do the benchmarks for the extra 500 megahertz we now have. As we can see here, it is saying 2.5 gigahertz. So let's just start up Geekbench and let it run. Woo! That's almost a 2500. That's impressive. That is a lot higher than I thought it would be. Now, we're going to compare it to the 2 gigahertz, but before we do that, I'm going to upload this up to my profile so we can compare it online and see just how it compares. So 1 second, guys, while I do that. And here are the results compared to the 2.0. Right here's the 2.0, here's the 2.5. As we can see, that is a big difference. This is really cool. Also, this is cool because I now have the same single core performance as a quad core, but it's air cooled, so that's a good thing. That means it should be more reliable, and I don't think it's going to overheat. But look at these differences here. Wow. Everything is faster on this. This is awesome. So now let's pull up Geekbench here. We'll close out all this. Forgot to close out System Profiler. Probably didn't make a difference though. So we'll go up to Geekbench here. I can't get it to click. There we go. Okay, and we'll start it. And the test is finished. Now, before I show you the results, let's save this. Okay, got that saved. Now let's take that, set that over here. We'll open up the 2 gigahertz one. And the 2 gigahertz got a score of 98.59. The 2.5 got a score of 122.13. That is a huge difference. And as we can see here, here are all the CPU test results and everything. It is a huge, massive difference. This is powerful. This is fast. And the system's running really, really quiet. This is amazing, guys, and I'm really, really excited about this. So anyway, the successful upgrade of my Power Mac G5 late 2005 model to a dual core 2.5. I'm excited about this, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And remember, guys, I'm still doing that Power Mac G5 giveaway. If you click this link right up here, you can go watch that video and join in if you live in the United States of America. And hey, I'm amazingly excited about this. And anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been a Rutk Mods video.